someone I should be taking account of because God said there's going to be a woman to crush my head. And here I am having this woman who's of great stature doing these things for the Lord. But lo and behold, you're going to have another woman come up in verse 21. It seems to be that Deborah's going to be the one doing this great thing. And Deborah's going to tell Baker, how about you go? Now it's our time to crush him. But they end up letting him escape. And when he escapes, he finds himself coming into a tent. And at this tent, there's a woman there by the name of Jael, Heber's wife. And Jael's going to be there, and she's going to say, come in to be my Lord. I'll give you some safety. I'll make sure that nobody can find you. He comes in. And he says, hey, listen, if anybody comes look for me, tell them I'm not here. She said, that's fine. He says, I'm thirsty, give me something to drink. She says, okay, I got some milk. Gives her some milk. He lays down, she covers him up, he falls asleep. Pick up the verse. Judges chapter 4, verse 3. This is a side note here. You know, I think it's interesting that whenever people go to sleep, they always put like a glass of milk for bed to help them sleep better. It was to really help him sleep. Because here he is now fast asleep, and being fast asleep, she is going to, let me read here, the chapter 4, verse 21, then Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand and went softly to him and drove the peg into his tent. And it went down into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. God says in Genesis 3, verse 15, that someone's going to crush the head of Satan. And then you have this woman crushing the head of this general. That's not even the most peculiar thing. Take note of how they're going to celebrate her. Take note of what they're going to say, the reaction of the people to what Jael has done now to sister. Take a look at Judges 5, verse 24. In Judges 5, verse 24, she's going to be celebrated for this action and what she's done to help the children of the Lord get a little bit of rest and a little bit of comfort by taking off this commander. Take a look at how they're going to then speak of her and remember this because of how they're going to speak of someone else. In the New Testament. In Judges 5, verse 24, the verse reads, most blessed among women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Blessed is she among women in tents. Most blessed among women is Jael. What has she done? She took out one commander, and now she's one who's most blessed. She's crushed the head of one person, and now she's the one who's most blessed among women. And now Satan has to take a closer look into who Jael is. This is a woman who's most blessed among women, someone who's blessed among God, someone who is going to crush the head of an enemy of God. Interestingly enough here, she doesn't actually kill Jabin, so it's not like she killed the king, the ultimate power, but she killed the lower level power. This isn't going to be the exact same. But remember to take note of her, because Satan would have taken note of her. Let's consider Mary. Mary. So what we have so far, just to make sure we keep this rolling on and everybody keeps context what we're going through. We have in Genesis 3, verse 15, God is telling us that there's going to be a woman who's going to crush the head of Satan. Then he tells us that he tells us or shows us that Satan only knows that. So now Satan, like everyone else, is going to have to keep note of what they've read in the prophecy, what God has said is going to happen, and then not know who this woman is going to be. Someone like Jael, probably is going to be to say most blessed of women, right? And now we go to Mary. Go to Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. Judges 5:24 says, most blessed among women is Jael, the woman of the wife of Heber, the Kenite. Blessed is she among women in tents. And then you get to Luke chapter 1 and verse 42, and look at what's spoken of concerning Mary. That should be 42, not 24. Little dyslexia there. Luke chapter 1 verse 42 said, then she spoke out with a loud voice. It said, blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your wombs. Very interesting. I'm going to come back and give the context of this, and I don't want us to get lost in it, but let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, which tells us, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Satan should be concerned. Maybe he wasn't so concerned about Jael. Who did she take out? She took out who? Somebody important. Yeah, he was a commander, but nobody of great stature. But now we have this woman who's being called most blessed amongst women. She's done nothing. So who is this woman, and why should she be held in such high esteem and high regard? What has she actually done? And I'll say, you're going to have to take a real close look into who this woman Mary is. Let's consider this. Mary is not only just the carrier of Jesus Christ, but she is going to be literally the Ark of the New Testament. She is the one who is the Ark of the New Testament. And I'll explain that a little bit further when we get down into this. But stay in Luke chapter 1. And you would need to read Luke chapter 1, 39 through 44. We'll just highlight the specific verses. There's 4 things that you would note in that context in Luke chapter 1, 39 through 44. The first thing that you note is Mary's going to go to Judah. Mary's going to go to Judah. Luke chapter 1, verse 39. It says, now Mary arose in those days, and she went to the hill country with haste to a city of Judah. Second thing that you're going to know, and these things are going to seem insignificant, but I promise you, hold on to it and the connection will be made. So we're trying to figure out who the woman is that God is talking about way back in the beginning of Genesis 3 that's going to crush the head of Satan. I know that terminology sounds weird, so I'm saying a woman crushing the head, but I promise you it'll all make sense at the end. So God has said this thing, and now we're on the lookout for these women. We read throughout the Old Testament, we see a woman doing something similar, and then she's spoken of in a certain way, in the same way in which Mary is spoken of. She's crushing up one's head. All right, Luke chapter 1 and verse 56. The second thing that you're going to see is that she's going to go to Judah. She's going to stay there for 3 months. Now, there's some things that are going to happen there in between time, but I'll come back to that. So Luke chapter 1 and verse 56, it says, and Mary remained with her about 3 months and returned to her house. Okay. Go to Luke chapter 1 and verse 43. The question is going to be asked of Mary, why do I deserve for you to be here with me? Being who you are and what you possess within you, why is it that you should be here? When I say that Mary is the Ark of the New Testament, do you guys remember what the Ark of the Old Covenant, what it carried? What was within the ark? It had a golden pot with manna in it, right? Jesus Christ is the bread of life, so she's literally carrying Jesus the Christ, the bread of life. It's going to have the budding rod of Aaron, and this rod is going to bud to let everybody know, including Aaron, that this is the priesthood. They are to be separate and apart from everybody else. They have a specific role that it means to serve God. Is Jesus Christ not the high priest of our salvation? Isn't he not the high priest when we are a part of his royal priesthood? It's also going to be that it contains the tablets of stone, the ones that have the 10 commandments. It contains the law. Is Jesus Christ not the law giver? It also tells us, and we'll read this second, it also tells us that God dwells within or between the cherubims of the Ark of the Covenant. It is not Jesus Christ. So when we say that Mary is the Ark of the New Testament, this is why she is carrying all the things pertaining to the New Testament that the Ark in the New Testament would carry if there were an Ark in the New Testament. It's Mary. Look at the verse. In Luke chapter 1 and verse 41, it says, but why is this granted to me that the mother of my Lord should come to me? And then finally, Luke chapter 1 verse 44, there's going to be a leap of joy. And Luke chapter 1 verse 44 says, for indeed, as soon as the voice of your greeting sounded in my ears, the baby leaped in my womb for joy. Let me give you the overall context of that section that we just went through. Mary is going to get her news that she's going to become a child, and she's going to carry the Son of God, so she's going to be the child. In her being a child, she's going to then go and visit her cousin who has received the news that she's going to be a child, and she's going to have a son named John, who's going to be the forerunner. He's going to come before Jesus Christ and make his pathway straight. She's going to come to visit her. When she comes to visit her, all these things are going to happen. Mary is the Ark of the New Testament. Now let's consider David in the Ark of the Covenant. David in the Ark of the Covenant. Go to 2 Samuel chapter 6. 2 Samuel chapter 6. Saying that Mary is the Ark of the New Testament sounds odd until you read about the Ark of the Old Covenant, or the Old Testament, in 2 Samuel chapter 6. You're going to see that the same 4 things that happen to Mary are the same 4 things that happen first to the Ark of God. And if you take a look at it closely, you'll see that there is a definite correlation between the two. They're actually one and the same. The very first thing that we note is that David's going to arise and go to Judah, a city of Judah, just like Mary did. 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 2. 2 Samuel 6 verse 2. It says that David arose and went with all the people who were with him from Baal, Judah, to bring up from there the Ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who dwells between the cherubims. So here you have David arrives. What's he doing? He's going to the city of Judah. Why? Well, to go get the ark. So here we have the ark in Judah, right? Just like we had Mary doing the very same thing. She's going to make her way to one of the cities of Judah. Now they both are dwelling in the same place. Keep reading. Look at verses 10 and 11. Verses 10 and 11. In between these verses 10 and 11, they're going to get the ark. They're going to put it on a cart. They're going to try to wheel it out. It's going to, one of the oxen are going to stumble. When they stumble, the other's going to take his hand out to stay with the ark. When he touches the ark, he's going to die. Whenever he dies, is going to really hurt David. He's going to even name one of these places after other the place where this happened. And in doing so, he's going to leave the ark there. Guess how long he leaves the ark there? Leaves ark there for 3 months, in the same way that we're going to have Mary stay there with Elizabeth for 3 months. Look at 10 and 11. It says, so David would not move the ark of the Lord with him into the city of David, but David took it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. Number 3. So here we have a parallel theme. They both are in Judah, both stay 3 months. The third thing that we're going to see is Elizabeth's going to ask the question, why did it grant me that the mother of my Lord come to visit me? And now we're going to see that same blessing that she's feeling, Elizabeth is feeling, is going to be felt by those in Obed's house as well, Obed-Edom's house as well. Take a look at it. How can I get the ark to me is the question that David is asking. The reason why he wants the ark is because he understands the blessing that it would be to have it in his presence. Reason why, verses 12 and 13. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 12 and 13, it says, now it was told King David, saying, the Lord has blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that belong to him because of the ark. Why is it granted me that the ark of God should be in my presence? That's what Elizabeth is asking. And David is saying, that's exactly what I want to have. The great blessing that it is to have with the Lord by way of the ark here is exactly what I want to emulate. It's exactly what I want to imitate and have in my presence. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with gladness. And so it was when those bearing the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces that he sacrificed oxen and fatted sheep. The last thing is that the baby is going to leap for joy in the womb of Elizabeth at the hearing of the voice of Mary. This is exactly what David is going to literally do in receiving the ark back to its place, its rightful place. He's going to dance with all of his might before the Lord. He's leaping with joy. Take a look at the verse. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 14 and 15. 2 Samuel 6, verses 14 and 15. It says, then David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was wearing linen ephods. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with sounds of the trumpet. Mary is the ark of the New Testament. We see that to be obvious, not only because of that which she possesses within her, as she's carrying the Son of God, she's carrying the law, she's carrying the bread of life, she's carrying the leader of the royal priesthood, the high priest Jesus Christ, not only because of that, but also because God is dwelling with her. Why does that matter? What does that have to do with Genesis 3 and verse 15 and the crushing of the head of Satan? What is it going to do with anything? Let's consider that. Let's go back to the ark when it was in Judah. The ark in Judah. We'll have to go to 1 Samuel chapter 5. 1 Samuel 5. The reason why 2 Samuel chapter 6 had to happen is because of what was going on in 1 Samuel. And in 1 Samuel 5, you're going to have the ark being taken one of a couple times, but the ark is going to be taken. When it's going to be taken, this is what's going to happen before David finally goes to receive the ark back. And this is why she, Mary, the ark of the New Testament, is the one that should be on high alert for Satan, or vice versa, Satan should be on high alert for her as one who's crushing the head of God. Take a look at what the ark is going to do here in 1 Samuel chapter 5. Look at verse 1. So the ark is going to be captured, 1 Samuel 5, verses 1 and 2. And then the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. So here we go. We have the ark being taken, and if this were like literally kidnapping Mary, if this were a New Testament account, you've taken the ark, then you set this beside an idol. If you were to take Mary and put her into an idolatrous synagogue, this would be equivalent to doing that. So here they have taken the ark of God, they put it in this synagogue, they put it in the threshing floor beside Dagon, just a stone figure who is being worshipped as a god. Notice how we find Dagon in verse 3. I find Dagon face down. Verse 3 says, and when the people of Ashdod arose early in the morning, there was Dagon fallen on his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and set it in its place again. So here you have this god that they worship. This idol is falling down, paying homage to God, making himself low before God, worshiping God, even you could say. And so they come in and they realize, oh, this is not how it should be. They set him back up on his pedestal, and then they go out again. But then notice verse 4. Verse 4. When they come back in, the head of Dagon has been crushed, it's fallen, and so are his hands. First reason, when they arose early the next morning, there was Dagon fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. The head of Dagon and both the palms of his hand were broken. Were broken off on the threshold. Only Dagon's torso was left under. This is important because unlike Sisera and Jael, this is a spiritual rival of God, a spiritual God being defeated. If we were to do this for Mary in the New Testament, this would be her defeating false doctrine, her defeating even the old law, putting it away and replacing it with the new law that is Jesus Christ. This is the one that Satan should be concerned about crushing his head, because this is the one who's defeating a rival that's equal to God, not in actual power, but in influence. So here we have it. Go to verse 5, or excuse me, verse 7. 1 Samuel 5, verse 7. This is the feeling that the people are going to have there that are serving in Ashdod, those who are believers in Dagon. They're saying, we got to get rid of this ark of God, because this ark of God is killing the one that we believe to be our God. We have it. Verse 7. It says, and when the men of Ashdod saw how it was, they said, the ark of God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is hard towards us, and Dagon our God. Maybe you have a question that comes to mind. Well, who actually crushes Satan's head? Who does the crushing? Is it Jesus or is it Mary? Because whenever we read this in Genesis 3, verse 15, and based on what I've been saying here, it seems like I'm saying that Mary is going to be the one to crush Satan's head. But from what I'm sure most of you always believe is that it's going to be Jesus who's going to do the crushing of the head of Satan. But really, it's the same. They both should be accounted as those who crush the head of Satan. And maybe you would think to yourself, well, that's not quite true, but let's take a look at the scriptures. If you were to, which I don't know if you have it, but if you had an original Hebrew manuscript, the word that you're going to find there for he will and she will, they're actually words that are no gender assigned to it. And we at later times have assigned gender to it. It's really neuter. So it literally means it will and it will. So to say that she will or he will, either one would be right. Think about in John chapter 2. Remember in John chapter 2, whenever Jesus is going to turn the water into wine, but we don't actually see Jesus ever do anything to interact with the water itself. He doesn't touch it, he doesn't grab it, he doesn't do anything but ask for it to be brought in. But we see those people bring it in, and those who brought it in are a part of that miracle being done. Even though Jesus is going to do the heavy lifting, so to say, the miracle can't be done without those who brought the water. An even better example, if you're reading in John chapter 3 or in John chapter 4, you're going to see Jesus start his ministry. And when he starts his ministry, it says that Jesus is going to baptize so many people, even more than John. And then you learn that Jesus didn't actually baptize anybody. None of those people Jesus baptized. So who did Jesus actually baptize? Is it no one or is it everyone? He baptized all of them, even though he himself didn't physically do it. This is the same thing for Mary and the son of Iscariot. When you say that, well, Jesus is the one who crushes the head of Satan, well, this is Mary crushing the head of Satan, because one can't exist without the other. These two are synonymous, one and the same. Go back to 1 Samuel 5. In 1 Samuel 5, verse 7, this is exactly what they say here concerning the ark. Is it the ark that made Dagon fall over, or was it God who made Dagon fall over? Because it seems to be that the people here in Ashdod were saying that it's both. If you take a look at it in 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 7, it says that when the men of Ashdod saw how it was, they said, the ark of God of Israel must not remain with us. So first they say we can't have this ark here. This ark is the one that's causing us this problem. But then they say, for his hand is far towards us, and Dagon our God. And they say God's hand is heavy. So is it the ark that's causing the problem, or is it God that's causing the problem? The answer is both. So who crushes the head of Satan? The answer is the woman and the son. They both have a part to play in the crushing of the head of Satan. To understand this completely, we have to go back to the beginning. Go to the beginning to understand the end. All right, we're gonna start, gonna end where we started. Genesis 3 and verse 15. Genesis 3 and verse 15. In Genesis 3 and verse 15, God is going to tell us, and I will put enmity between you, the woman, between your seed and her seed. You shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. I don't know if you've ever really given a thought to it. If you study it on your own and not let someone tell you, then you probably will read it as it should be read. God literally says, I will put enmity between the woman and you. He then goes on, he breaks off and say, her seed and your seed, but he makes it very clear that the strife, the warfare, the fighting is between the woman and the serpent. There's no in between there. There's no other way to mix this up. God says it very plainly, very clearly, between you and the woman, he tells the serpent. This is going to be your adversary. The one that you're going to be at long-standing war with is going to be between you and this woman. And Satan is wondering who this woman is going to be. He realizes it's not JL, but now he's looking to see that it's got to be Mary. Based on all the things we saw, the ark of the New Testament, the one who's crushing the head, this is the one that Satan should be concerned for, because she is the one who bears the Son of God. Let's go to Revelation 12. The war has always been against the woman. If you read through your scriptures, you will understand this comprehensively. Revelation 12, verse 1 through 5. Revelation 12, verse 1 through 5. In Revelation 12, 1 through 5, this is a thing that's going on in the heavenly realm. And as it's going on in the heavenly realm, there's going to speak of a woman being there. And maybe you can speculate and say, well, this woman isn't Mary, but who else could it be? When you consider all the things that are being said and the way that it lines up, who else could this be other than Mary? If you have any suggestions, I'd love to know. But Revelation 12, verse 1 through 5, to me, seems to speak of Mary. It says, now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed in the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being a child, she cried out in labor pains to give birth. And another sign appeared, and behold, a great fiery red dragon, having seen 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew a third of the stars of the heavens and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child. As soon as it was born, she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was brought up to God and his throne. Does that sound like to y'all? Maybe you need a little bit more convincing. Let's go down to verse 17. So we have this woman in Revelation 12. You can read the whole chapter. You have the time. Now this woman in Revelation 12 is being spoken of in the heavenly realm near the throne of God, who's going to have this strife between her and this red dragon. So let's go to Revelation 12 in verse 17. This red dragon is the serpent. You have to read verses 13 through 15. You will see in verses 13 through 15 the serpent being made mention of, and then how that serpent becomes the dragon here in verse 17. In Revelation 12, verse 17, it says, and the dragon was enraged with the woman. He's not mad at God. He's not trying to fight God. He's not trying to overthrow the throne in heaven. He's enraged with the woman. All those that he could have conflict with, all those that he could go to war against, he goes to war against the woman. And he went to make war with the rest of her offspring who keep the commandments of God and had the testimony of Jesus Christ. Those people sound familiar. If you're still not convinced that this is talking about Mary, go back to Revelation chapter 11. And Revelation chapter 11 and look at verse 19. In Revelation 11, verse 19, it says, then the temple of God was open in heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his temple, and there were lightning, noises, lightnings, noises, thunderings, earthquakes, and earthquake, and a great hail. Is it any coincidence that in Revelation 11:19, as the chapter is getting to a close, it's talking about the Ark of the Covenant right before you get to chapter 12. You're talking about this woman in heaven bearing a child, in which Satan wants to devour, but God is going to call up to heaven. Maybe you end this sermon thinking like, oh, and I would be thinking, it's why the woman? Why would Satan be concerned with this woman? Why would Satan want this woman to fight? Why would Satan fight God? Even when you read Revelation there, chapter 12, you're gonna see that he's gonna fight the archangel. He's gonna be at war with this woman, but he's never at war with God. Why is he not at war with God? Have you guys honestly considered if Satan were to fight God, what that fight would look like? Would it last longer than a second? Did God not create Satan? Did not God give him parameters by which he could rule? Even when it came to Job, he told him, you can do this, you can't do that. Satan's like, yes, sir. If this were a fight ever to be happening between God and Satan, Satan wouldn't stand a chance. But for the sake of bringing about our redemption, it was always about this woman. Of course, to see that you were bringing forth for the sake of bringing God to this earth, to redeem all of mankind. The reason why it's a woman because this is what God chose. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 15. Chose to marry. Genesis 3 and verse 15, and I'm going to do a part 2 to this lesson, talking about Mary and Eve next time I'm in the pulpit. But in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 15, it seems to be that he's talking to Eve, but then you're going to see that it's actually talking about this woman before Eve is going to be named. Right there, he says between you and the woman, and then later down, just a few verses down, Adam is then going to give Eve her name. Now we're going to have this distinction between the woman and Eve, and now this woman that we come to know is Mary. When you think about Paul McCartney, you hear the song Let It Be, he says, at the time of trouble, our company's looking for comfort. Mother Mary comes to him. It should be that we have a comfort in Mary, knowing that she is the one whom God has chosen to bring about our salvation by way of the Son whom she bear, is the Son of God. Maybe when we think about Mary, we don't think about her as being anything more than a team of someone who's praying down and prays about this child and praying about this child is going to do these great things. But why wasn't it that God chose anyone else in all of history, but that he waited until the perfect time in which she came about to choose her, the one that he promised way back at the beginning? Now, I know this isn't one of those come to Jesus sermons. You hear this, you think to yourself, I want to repent, but maybe you do. Maybe the comfort that you were looking for in a mother can be found in someone like Mary, what she was willing to do, bring forth her child. Well, that can be brought to you by way of being part of this family, the family that God has given us by way of his Son, one whom Mary has produced. Maybe you are one who's put on Christ in baptism, repent of past sins. Whatever your need may be here this morning, make it known as you stand. As we sing.